Hello everyone, welcome to another Creation Specialist episode, and I'm very pleased to announce this part 2, and well, it just gets crazy and crazier because I have no idea what's going to happen next. I'm very intrigued, and yeah, I hope you enjoy. Please leave a like, comment this time for real, and subscribe. And thank you very much for watching. I appreciate all the love from the last episode. And let's see what craziness we will learn today. Because this is freaking nuts. Just part 1, I was mind blown already. Let's see if we can blow my mind even more.
Are very controversial that I will have to kind of speak in code a little bit, but all of the terms I say.
Controversial? Did you say controversial? Let's go. I'm in.
You can simply search and find out for yourselves. Just know I've got to be careful with some of it because it will get you instant zapped. Also, something I figured out while researching this, several of these conspiracy theories work in tiers off of each other in themselves. Like what I mean in tier 1, I mentioned giants. Well, there's one in this tier that is...
Giants? Giants? Oh, yes! Be notified with giants, please. Come on, Wendigoon, show us that craziness.
A more specific description of giants, and then after that, there are certain accounts in history that can be explained with giants. So they sort of work in stairs of each other, if that makes sense. Also, some of these theories are specifically setup theories. What I mean by that is that it'll be a concept or belief that will be mentioned that may not make sense on its own, but it will apply later, or at least it's something to keep in mind for later. Like, for example, a lot of the ones dealt with in this tier have to do with auras and spiritualism. The reason being, a lot of the other theories don't make sense across the whole iceberg unless you're familiar with those concepts. And last thing, a few of these I'm going to introduce my own theories into. What I mean by that is while researching, I've seen parallels or connections drawn between two separate things. So I will kind of skip around within a tier, like I'll do in this video, to connect one topic to another directly. And that is entirely my own guess on it, essentially. Without further ado, there are a lot of these, so let's get started. But, thank you for watching. Tier 2's title is...
Like he said, thank you all for watching. Haha, like and subscribe, please.
Deep Researcher, and subscribed as Theories and Twilight Zone level stuff. Most of these entries can easily be studied through the use of mainstream medias, but they require a good grasp of how the world works to be fully understood. Common people rarely go this deep. First up, we have Lucid Dreaming. Lucid Dreaming is a well-known concept that during sleep, some people can control their dreams and what happens in them. I, for one, am one of these people. However, the theory comes in where people who can lucid dream can either affect things that happen in the real world or affect their thought process by manipulating things in the dreamscape. Next up is MKUltra.
Okay, so something about lucid dreaming that I found out, I sort of know about this, but not too much, is that it's not that they can cause out of like something else to happen in the real world. I think that's a little far out. But it can be like a deep dream, because I had this happen to me once, where it's like it literally felt so surreal that felt real. You know what I mean? You have one of those dreams where you like can't move your body, but you know what's happening, and like it feels realistically. I mean, it's so freaking strange.
MKUltra is a rather well-known experiment that happened with the CIA in the 1970s, late 60s, in which people were brought in and influenced with psychotropics and other mind-altering drugs for the CIA to view the effects of and potentially use in PSYOPs, which again was something mentioned in Tier
1. So with the MKUltra, that's real. They actually have it on government document in the FBI site, I believe, so you can look it up yourselves. Yeah, just do that, because you'll get more information out of it. It's very interesting, and it's actually very terrifying, because they actually did an LSD experiment, I think, to find out like what the side effects are about that. It's kind of weird because it's still a legal drug, so I don't know, take it with a grain of salt.
This is a rather well-known event. Most of the theories stem from the idea that either it's still going on or it was done at a great larger scale than the populace is aware of. Next up we have hypnosis. Again, this is one of those establishing theories, but as we all know, hypnosis is influencing the watcher to either recall things from the past or implant memories and yada yada things such as. Next up we have...
I don't know why that's a conspiracy theory. Hypnosis is true. I mean, they did it to lose weight. I mean, in some cases, they could even get rid of addictions. Apparently. Allegedly, I should say. Don't take me for fact-checked based. I haven't done this research myself. It's all Wendigoon stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, that's weird. But I don't know why that's a conspiracy theory. Anyway, sorry to bum you out. Just moving on.
Fluoride. Fluoride has to do with the fact that in the US, fluoride is inserted into the tap water in order to help with tooth enamel and digestion and yada yada things such as. The conspiracy comes from the fact that fluoride is a chemical and can therefore chemically castrate or influence other biomechanical things in the body. So this will be more tied in later, but such as pineal gland calcification is believed to be a side effect of fluoride poison.
Okay, let's stop right there. I don't know how true that is, but there hasn't really been any research done, which is probably one of the reasons why it's a conspiracy theory, and they should really do research about that, see if it has any health side effects that need to be addressed. But yeah, I mean, that's where it stands right now. Fluoride hasn't really been in the news lately, which it should, just because of, like, people... I don't think people know that it's been in their water for past century right now, I believe. Even longer. People should know that, just in case. I mean, they have fluoride toothpaste, so...
Or fluoride control, as people believe. Speaking of, pineal gland calcification is the idea that the pineal gland in the body calcifies after a certain point. This is actually true, however, the side effects of the theory are not. The way the pineal gland works is it has to do with growth and hormone supplements in the body, but after someone passes puberty, it's not really needed anymore and the gland simply calcifies and dies out. The theory comes from the idea that things such as fluoride and other things taken in the body causes the gland to calcify and keeps us from reaching either our full brain or physical potential. This goes into weird theories about how to uncalcify and things such as, but it is true that as you get older, you don't need the pineal gland anymore, so it kind of just withers away. Next.
Honestly, that could be possible with different chemical reactions in the body. It could just mix it up and freeze it. More you know. I didn't know that part. I didn't know anything about the pineal calcification thing. But, Man, my deep thinking brain, bro. It's exploding. But Cicada, ooh, I want to learn more about that, because I have heard of it. When Cicada actually first broke out, like the idea of Cicada, it was like 2015. I remember when that was such a craze online. Man, that's crazy.
Next up we have Cicada. This is in reference to Cicada 3301, which was a large-scale codebreaker event that happened in 2012. A random account appeared with the name Cicada 3301 and had these large puzzles for people to solve. There have been a total of 3, with a new one being added every time the last one gets figured out. However, the third one, to this day, despite being posted in 2016, has still not been found out. The site says the reason for this is that they are recruiting code breakers from some kind of secret project that no one's aware of. It's a very interesting rabbit hole to go down. I may make a video on it someday. There's several videos out there, and give the third puzzle a look. You may be the code breaker that's wanted for whatever super sleuth activity they got planned. The McFly Code is our first look at one of the more kooky ones. It is a belief that the Back to the Future movie predicted 9/11. The evidence of this is saying such as the shopping mall that takes place in the movie is Twin Pines shopping mall, or the fact that the first...
Okay, that's a bit far. Fetched, I would say. Never heard of that. Like, I watch Back to the Future, so I get the reference, but still, that's a little bit weird. Conspiracy theory, I guess, right? But I haven't heard of McFly Code theory. Well, let me stop rambling, but you can actually hear about it.
Clock of the movie shows 9:55, which on a hand dial would be 9:11, and things such as, and this all connects to the idea that the people who did 9/11 make movies and blah blah blah. You get it. Dowsing or is an idea that using a fork of metal, people can pick up on sonic vibrations from the earth in order to find underground supplies of water, oil, etc. It's more of a wives' tale than anything now, but there is some truth to it when it comes to how people used to found oil refineries. However, the way this loops back into a theory is it's one of those establishing, once again, that there are sonic vibrations within the earth. Next up, we have Admiral Byrd. And
Honestly, with sonic dowsing, sorry to keep pausing, but that's the way I work. I want to discuss this instead of just like going through crap and melting dead face. But dowsing is real. They do that up in Alaska, and I think somewhere in Wyoming. Because if you do a little bit research, they actually still do that. I think some places up in the middle part of America and a little bit out west. I'm not sure if that's still a thing. But one only reason why I point out this fact is because one of the Tiny House episodes, if you watch the Tiny House from LLC, I think, is that they actually had a guy dowsing. He was like, "Oh, I do this 20 times a day, and I always find water." It's like, okay, that works. It's officially not really a theory anymore because there is actual proof of them finding oil and water and other minerals. And don't be fooled, everything has a vibration.
This is one of the first really interesting ones, in my opinion. Admiral Byrd was sent to Antarctica shortly after World War II in something called Operation High Jump, which was essentially an idea to figure out whatever the Nazis were looking for in Antarctica during World War II, which relates to this place called Base 221, which was supposedly a Nazi outpost in Antarctica. When he returned back, he was put into isolation for 36 hours and was told not to speak of what he found to anyone under any circumstances, to which he was then given the Medal of Honor and told to leave. While this is odd, many connect it to the idea of what the Nazis were looking for in the first place, which is something known as Agartha. Which brings us into our next topic, Agartha. In theory, Agartha is a civilization...
Sorry about that. Hey, my desk. Agartha, isn't that like Middle Earth or something? I don't know, but that is weird with the Admiral Byrd, but I wouldn't be surprised to keep her up to the dark guys and society as being really underhanded with the Antarctica thing. A lot of fishy and shady shit going on down there.
Located beneath the Earth. This gets into a larger idea called Hollow Earth theory, that inside of the Earth, it is essentially a flipped gravitational pull, and there's an entire world operating beneath us. What's interesting throughout history is how different civilizations and leaders have been dedicated to finding this quote-unquote Agartha, such as Hitler during World War II, and other ancient tribes have tales of people that live beneath. How that's connected is since Agartha is what Germany was looking for in World War II, and since that's where Admiral Byrd went to go look and then was told to shut up and never talk about it, many believe Admiral Byrd found Agartha and then was told to simply never talk about it. Next up, we have weather control, or...
Honestly, that makes sense. Because I was leader of like that place, quote unquote. I would tell him to shut up too. I mean, you don't want to put your own home in danger. Fuck the surface people. I don't want to put that thing at risk.
Or HARP. HARP stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, which is an actual military base located in Alaska. The purpose of this base is to monitor weather activity, although many have accused it as being a weather control base, such as Hugo Chavez saying that the earthquakes that occurred in South America were due to meddling at the HARP location in Alaska. This goes deeper. There's a lot of people who trace the weather around the area to look for signs on it, so you can check it out yourself. But basically, the idea in Alaska that the government has a weather control base. Freemasons.
Okay, I know this is getting kind of boring for you guys, but we're learning together. Anyways, for the HARP thing, I remember when that heyday of that theory existed. That was around 2016, 2017, I think. Maybe that theory is a little older, I'm not exactly sure. But, I mean, it could be true. I mean, even China has one. So, don't quote me on that, but I believe it's true. Yeah, I'm just going by thoughts about on this thing, so, to be honest. Talking out of my ass.
This is another one of those establishing ideas. It essentially goes off of the well-known idea that the Masons are shady and they influence several politics and events that happen around the world. So this is another one of those asterisk ones. Keep the Masons in mind for things that come later. The 23 Enigma is simply that, an idea that the number 23 is suspicious throughout history in things such as dates and events, a number of casualties, and things such as. You can look into this one yourself. It's really long. There's even a movie about it starring Jim Carrey, but essentially the idea that the number 23 is to be avoided. Next up, we have astral projection. Astral projection relates a lot to lucid dreaming, although it's a little bit different. The idea of astral projection is that while sleeping or in a trance-like state, someone can remove their soul or their consciousness from their body and walk around and influence things. Experiments with this include hospitals who have put messages on the roof, and people who claim to astrally project have projected above the hospital, so to speak, been able to read what was on the roof, come back down, and tell the doctors what they saw. Next up, we have...
Honestly, that's pretty cool. I wouldn't mind being able to do that. I actually never heard of astral projection until, like, last year. I heard it happened to people. I think astral projection is like another word for like out-of-body experience. It's literally looking at your own body from a different perspective. That is interesting. I'm stroking my fake beard right now. Intriguing. You can hear it. Ever slowly. Anyway, moving on.
This will relate more in theories on, such as giants, but essentially the idea is that there are these supernatural entities disguised as women that feed off of men's energy by appearing as a sexual being or feeding off of their life force or things such as. Eastern philosophy is incredibly vague.
Okay, say goodbye. Wait. All you thirsty bonkers out there, I will bonk your ass. Bro, we all wish it was real, but it's not. Only in the drawings of fantasies, sorry fellas.
I can only imagine this is also a setup, as it applies to Hinduism and Taoism, and just general ideas of spirituality, yin and yang, so on and so forth. Nephilim is what I was referring to
Giants,
earlier
yes.
Speaking of giants. Nephilim is a more specific concept. Specifically in the Old Testament, it says that some of the angels that fell to earth whenever Satan was cast out had children with humans on earth, and that created creatures known as Nephilim, or giants. In the Old Testament, several of the tribes that were wiped out or ordered to be wiped out by God were these Nephilim creatures. Famous characters such as Goliath from the Bible are specific instances of it. Where this goes further is the idea that they still exist in modern day, or small tribes and civilizations are made up of them. The missing cosmonauts relates to the Cold War space race time before
Very intriguing.
Yuri Gagarin was successfully shot into space, that Russia shot up several other people, but since they all died or never made it back to Earth, they simply kept it quiet as a way to not cause bad publicity during the Cold War.
What? Dude, that's so fucked up. So there could be actual human bodies floating around in space right now? Holy shit. No thank you, no thank you, no thank you.
This one is definitely more feasible than others on the list, the idea that the Russian government would cover up failures in its space program, but it does make it horrifying to think about how many people could have died in the search for the man in space.
Not getting free
You've never seen anything
today.
like this.
I'm gonna hit mute because fuck you, ad. and goodbye. And
Interesting one
remute.
that I will absolutely make a video on someday. But the short version is 9 researchers went missing in Russia in the Siberian area, and when they went to be found...
Oh, I heard about this. So apparently this did actually happen. This was not a hoax. So what Wendigoon will say is that they did go up the mountain, then they never came back, which is true. They found bodies and such. They think Bigfoot or Abominable Snowman attack, something like that. But yeah, it gets nuts.
They were all dead, either from having all of their bones shattered, their jaws ripped off, other horrifying scenarios that in no way seemed natural, to the point that the coroner's report on it says they were killed by a, quote, overwhelming compelling force, which could be literally anything. Like I said, it's a very interesting story and very creepy, and I encourage you to check it out yourself. Declassified documents is also super vague. This is probably just referring to the JFK files and other government documents that have been released in recent years, and the fact that they proved and disproved.
Yeah, I'm boycotting this one. This is kind of boring. Classified document. I mean, come on, guys. Seriously, be more creative.
Proved several conspiracy theories. So, yeah, go figure. Summoning is also a setup concept. Basically, just the idea that people can bring in evil or good entities either through.
Brought to you by Rage. That was when you got to summon that shit. And no, I'm joking. This is not sponsored. But summoning, and it's kind of old idea, I guess. It's not really accurate, as to say. But I'm gonna try to. Let's continue.
Actions or rituals, so specific supernatural beings can be conjured up by an individual. One of which is another concept on the iceberg, tulpas. Tulpas are what we would traditionally figure as an imaginary friend. Essentially the idea that someone can think an entity up so much and imagine them to the point that a spirit inhabits that being. So the idea that imaginary friends kids have, or ideas that always set in your mind, are not merely ideas but are now possessed by a specific entity. So don't worry about that monster under the bed too much. Operation...
Ooh, that's creepy thought. Only your imagination.
Bluebeam was an idea put forward by Sergey, whatever, Manast, which said that NASA was working with the UN and world governments to pose a new religion in which NASA would fake the second coming of Christ in order to set up the Antichrist as the Godhead. And it essentially relates to the end of times, the idea that all world governments are working together to destroy the population, and he called this entire thing Operation Bluebeam. So yeah, occult knowledge is awesome.
What the hell? Mind's blown. I've heard of that. I've heard the name, but not specifics. Jeez. That's dark.
Also a super vague one. Basically the just knowledge of the occult itself. So occult's defined as anything that is supernatural but not strictly spiritual. So werewolves, monsters, creatures of the night, etc., etc. Again, this is another setup. It just occurred to me that we are not, like, even halfway done. Magica was weird to find anything for, mostly because I think there is a card game of the same name, but from the best I can figure, Magica is essentially the idea that magic is divided into 5 categories, that of the arcane, the illusionary, the aura, manipulation, and elemental. So I could be completely off.
Okay, Magica, that's strange. Maybe that's just referring to the abilities of a witch, or what do you freaking call a male witch? Sorcerer or something like that? I don't know, but that's probably what Magica is referring to. Anyway, moving on.
That's all I could find. Next we have the shelled or firmament earth. This comes from the idea posed in Genesis in the Bible that before the flood, the earth was covered with a firmament, or essentially a wrapping of water that allowed oxygen to flourish and things such as. Now it's mentioned in the flood that that firmament was destroyed. However, theorists believe that there's still a firmament of some kind and that the earth sort of exists within a shell. And most of what I found with this related back to Hollow Earth theory, so I think they're kind of tied, if not directly. Men in Black is a concept that is rather well known, that government agents who simply wear a suit and use fake names appear to cover up evidence often. This relates to theories such as Polybius, which we'll get into later, or people going missing, and it's essentially the deepest level of government cover-up you can go, that completely nameless and identificationless people will show up in black suits and change things however the government wants them. The Boy in the Box is a real...
What the fuck? Okay, I guess that makes sense all the way down to Roswell, I'm guessing. But we're now only 14 minutes in. Holy shit. Let's get started.
That happened in 1957 in Philadelphia, in which a boy's body was found in a box on the side of the river, and he was never identified. This was weird because no one nearby reported a missing child, no orphanages reporting missing children, nothing. It was just a body found in a box for some reason, which implies murder or foul play, but no one ever knows who did it, and there's never been any connection made. Most theories relate to the idea that it was a cover-up by an orphanage or things such as, but it doesn't change the fact that it's odd that a child could just disappear and no one would notice. Reality simulations is another setup. Basically, the whole Matrix idea that reality itself is either one giant simulation for everyone or certain individuals.
Yeah,
clown sightings are in reference to in 2016, whenever various people showed up in clown costumes with knives and weapons and began threatening people in public. What's interesting about this is ask yourself, do you know of anyone that dressed?
Nope, don't think you fucked this shit out. Peace, bitch. I'm leaving you in the dust if I see a clown with a knife. Sorry.
Dressed up as a clown, or have you heard of anyone dressing up as a clown? And why did it happen in thousands all across the US at once? No one's ever came forward, there were never any public plans made, but yet, all at once, they just showed up and then went away. Weird. Divination is the idea that one can see the future or have premonitions of the future through supernatural means. So essentially through meditation or summoning, someone can figure out what will happen in the future. Space is fake is exactly what it says, space is fake, that either the night sky is a simulation or it is a sort of curtain that's been put up by extraterrestrials in order to give the illusion of space, even though it's not real. Pantheism is a more traditional idea that there is not necessarily a God, but more so that God is a being completely outside the understanding of people and instead exists all around us everywhere at once, or we are essentially a part of God. It is a very spiritualist idea of the universe. Intelligent design is a...
Interesting. Never heard of that before. Oh, the more you know.
Exactly what it says, that people were made intelligently and with purpose as opposed to a random set of accidents or coincidences, and this is pretty much the basis of every religion, that people were created rather than accidentally. LA oil rigs was interesting, and I had no idea about it until reading this. Apparently in LA, regular oil rigs are not up to code or sightly for the city, so they're hidden in completely normal buildings like this. Every floor you see is fake. All of it is just an exterior covering, and inside is just a working oil rig, and these exist all down the street in LA. Also, this isn't really a theory, it's literally what it is. There are oil rigs working inside of fake buildings in LA. Ghost Girl is awesome.
Interesting. I didn't know that was a thing at all. Well, definitely the more you know. My mind's actually blown about that part. Holy crap. Oh well, anyways, I'm going to stop it here. I know Ghost Girl is very interesting. This is intriguing and all. But I'm going to have a busy day. So I will split this into part 1 and part 2. And I will make it known that there will be a part 2 about this. So don't worry. I'm going to do it, release it, first one tomorrow and then the second one Monday for you guys. Just to split it up. I know this is a long series, so we'll try to do this in parts. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Please leave a subscribe and a like, and let's get this channel growing. Thank you all for the support. Love you guys, and peace, stay awesome, stay healthy, and see you next week.